true outdoorsman who loves the fields and streams. They filter through this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the highest fishing pole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
Hello, sportsmen. You know, when we talk about opening day on this show, most people think about the opening day of deer season. Now, that is a biggie. About half of the deer hunting success takes place on opening day. But other opening days, even though they're significant to certain people, don't usually pan out that great. For example, the opening day of trout season, which is this Saturday, the last Saturday in April. Opening day of walleye season oftentimes isn't all that great. Turkey, your first day of turkey, may or may not be. We're going to talk about all three of those, show you some opening day experiences that I've had. So stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. You're watching The Practical Sportsman. So we're the first ones on opening day. We didn't see a soul fishing the spots that John Lund said always, I repeat always, produces at least a few hungry brook trout.
Through this marshy stuff, I guess, huh? Is that right, across through there?
Some opening days, John has walked through this flooded grass to several favorite holes in the river where he's caught his limit within an hour or so.
Reminds me of duck hunting, John.
This marshy terrain makes for good pike spawning, but it's not brook trout territory. Trout like the flowing current of cold, clear streams. Did your waders make it through the winter without developing cracks and leaks? You find out on opening day of trout season. It's always a good shakedown for your gear, and on northern streams like this, it can be a trout fishing bonanza.
What do you think, John?
It's pretty good for an opener. Water's really high.
It's really high, so...
Yeah.
But it doesn't appear that there's any other anglers in sight.
No, we're lucking out so far. I think everyone's downstream from here.
So there'll be fish will be tucked into the banks?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. Now, do you fish upstream or downstream?
Downstream for now. We'll hit the high spots in here that hopefully will hold some brook trout in them and go from there.
You fish flies often on an opener? Or?
No. Basically spinners and live bait for openers. I kind of like the taste of brook trout, so I like to catch a few.
Looking forward to that. We had a great stuffed trout recipe.
Sound bad?
Now, where do you hook them?
Generally through the ring on them and bring them back through, yeah. Little bottom portion of it, I like to let it sit and dangle a bit with them. And
some people hook them right on the end.
that's what to find out how big the trout are.
Others hook them in the middle. But for trout, hook them once. Just once. You know, it's amazing for their size, how even a small brook trout can just take this whole thing in one gulp. You take a big bluegill. We were trying some things in a fish tank. A big bluegill could hardly choke down a nightcrawler, even a big one. But those little trout, they got big mouths.
This time of year, yep, very hungry.
Well, this is it, the first cast. Go ahead, you do the first cast, because you're the pro. This is your river. This is your hole right here.
If there was ever a ringer of a guide and a ringer of a trout stream, this is it. John's track record is impeccable. 15 years of opening days on this stretch of river, 15 limits, and this hole always produces.
Here we are, opening a trout season. Well, you didn't guarantee the limits.
No, I sure didn't. It's a good thing, too.
No, it's only noontime, and you've already taken us to what I presume are all of your best spots.
2 out of the 3, yes.
2 out of the 3?
Yes.
But your experience tells you that the third one...
I don't think I want to go see the third one today.
What happened?
I don't know if it's the weather or what. We got high water, of course, but usually
but that's common in the spring.
High water usually is pretty good down this way, but this time I just can't explain it.
The first place we went, you said we always catch a lot of,
correct,
smaller ones there, but good eaters. And there was only one other fellow there that we saw.
Right.
Should have been perfect.
Should have been ideal.
How many nibbles did you get there?
Not a one.
I didn't either. Didn't raise a thing.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to say about it. Except, you know, you go through a morning like this and you try to think, what have I learned? What have I learned? Well, there's a couple things I learned. One thing that I'm going to do immediately is change brand of line. Without getting into brand, I'm going to the brand that you recommend. Oh, I just had mess after mess after mess with this fishing line, all tangled up. I'm also going to get a different spinning reel. I had the line, anyway. So that's one thing I'm going to do. I wasn't also totally prepared. Like you said, you know,
Opening, yes.
opening the evening before, rooting around in the garage.
It's a scramble. Yeah.
It's a scramble. Well, my landing net at home was rotten, so I did remember to pick one up here, sort of a miniature, and it got tangled up in the trees. Of course, this is just par for the course. I also didn't have my creel. I left, it's down on our cabin wall for the TV set. I forgot to bring it. So I bought a handy-dandy, I think a junior-size creel. So I got to remember not to forget those things in the future. I got a recommendation for you. You should install some valves on the heels of your waders, so that when you get up on dry land, you can let the water out.
This is one of these opening days when you just don't have time to try out your equipment.
What do you have in there?
I can give you a demonstration here.
Oh, so you spent several hours.
You can hear that kind of slush sound and the water dripping out.
And it's cold water on opening day.
Yes.
Wow. What else did we learn? We had great looking night crawlers.
Oh, dandy.
I mean, they look perfect.
Yeah, they're
perfect size.
lively, very lively this year.
Mm-hmm. You did catch a chub or a horned pout?
Horn dace, yeah.
Horned dace?
Yeah, it was a dandy. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But that wasn't the kind of day that you thought you'd bring us on television.
No, definitely not.
But all in all, just at the time our cameraman John Ford decided, after lugging that camera for close to 5 hours, he decided to set it down and lay down in the grass alongside while you were fishing. At which time you, of course,
Hooked into a brook trout. Brought it in.
Oh, that's great. I could use my net, but looks like he's got it pretty good. Oh, wow. Well, I tell you, I'm thrilled to catch a brook trout that size, a 10-incher, but John Lund says that was a small one. After 5 hours of unproductive fishing, he caught this one in a stretch of river where he was expecting a 15-incher. He caught 3 15-inchers from this stretch last year on opening day, which all goes to prove that in fishing, there are never any guarantees.
you going to take us fishing again and catch us some fish?
I'd sure like to.
Thanks, John. We broke in trout season, and that's our opening day report.
That's often been my experience on opening days of trout season, the last Saturday in April. It's just a little too early for the hot trout fishing. Another month. Hey, that's the kind of fishing I like, and we'll be doing that. But right now, one type of fishing that is hot is for hand liners in the Detroit River. Now, we have at the museum here in Bath a lot of old fishing tackle, old fishing equipment. And this is one thing that people look at and they say, what in the heck is this? Well, this is a reel that is used for hand lining, was developed, in fact, this was developed in Detroit, Michigan, for hand lining, automatic trolling and chugging reel, for hand lining for walleye. We're going to show you how this is done. What a beautiful day for fishing. In the fall, it's a duck boat. In the spring and summer, it's a walleye boat. Jim Schruger from Inkster fishes the old-fashioned way. His reels are attached to the gunnels of his boat. He prefers this to rods and reels. The Detroit River is where this style of fishing is common. The technique is called hand lining. The fishermen who hand line the river call themselves river rats. The current in the Detroit River, well, like many major rivers, is swift. The bottom is jagged, limestone rocks and shelves laced with miles of fishing line and lures that anglers have lost. The bridge connects mainland Trenton to Grosse Ile, and the water in between holds a seeming infinite number of walleye and nearly that many boats, at least on weekends. Jim Schruga's first love is duck hunting, but hand lining for walleye runs a close second. He said you can always count on catching at least a few.
Hey, we picked a great day. It's been blowing the past couple days. It went down to freezing, miserable. Now we got the wind from the west, blue sky.
Yeah.
Is this perfect?
Out of the west, they bite the best.
Is this perfect?
Yeah.
Here we go again, Fred Trost and cameraman John Ford on another perfect day.
These reels are kind of neat, just a spring wound,
Yeah.
so that if you let it go, it absorbs the line. Huh. But we're actually going to have to pull the walleye in
Right. By
hand over hand.
This just takes up the slack as you're pulling it in.
Now, when you're pulling a walleye in like this, do you ever have to give line?
No.
So you're always
You'll
taking them in.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't tell whether it's a particularly big one or small one, or can
Oh yeah,
you?
you can tell. You'll definitely tell when it's
Oh.
a big one. He'll give you. It'll feel like, you'll feel that.
Mm-hmm.
It's an original.
This is great.
At the end of your line, wire line, is a weight, a little over a pound of lead snapped to a braided wire leader that has a series of eyes where you can clip monofilament leaders. A short 3-footer goes on the bottom. A longer 10 to 15-foot drop leader goes off the top of the 6-foot braided line. Now, the lures during the day are Rapalas. At night, it's pencil plugs fished right off the bottom.
How far down do you?
Just go all the way down to the bottom now. Don't let it go too fast now. You feel the bottom yet?
Yeah, I'm on the bottom.
Okay. What you want to do is bounce it off the bottom, just like this. Every time.
Bounce it?
Look.
Oh, yeah.
If you come up, off,
Mm-hmm.
off. That's the key. And then when you find them rock piles, you feel that you're going to come up real quick, and then you feel a drop. You drop that bait back there real quick, and usually the walleyes are sitting right there.
A videograph is the one electronic help to hand lining. It gives you an idea of what's on the bottom 10 or 15 feet below, and the fish show up as small marks. Now, those are walleyes. Fishing like this is hook and line at its purest. The line is in your hand, a direct connection to the fish. The wire that you hold is braided wire covered with plastic insulation so it doesn't cut your hand. Every now and then you check your lures to make sure they're running right and haven't snagged any debris. Both lures are okay, so back down they go. Finally, on this perfect day, the first fish.
Yep, I got one. Okay, take my time this time. Okay, the weight up in the boat. This is a small one. Oh, it's a white bass. No kidding. A white bass, I'll be darned. Well, you got to start somewhere.
Well, it wasn't the walleye we were looking
that.
for. And since white bass aren't quite as tasty as walleye, and since we were planning on catching lots of walleye, the white bass went back. Behind us, another boat of rod and reel fishermen pulled in a walleye. Now notice the guy in the front of the boat. He snagged on the bottom. Happens all the time in this river. That's why there's so many jigs and pieces of line down there. We're still waiting for our first walleye. What time did I say we started? At daybreak? A beautiful day for fishing? Well, it just so happens that our morning fishing trip stretched into an evening fishing trip. In fact, a night fishing trip. You're looking at two anglers bound and determined not to get skunked.
So now, what did you say about this, Jim? Your forecast here for the conditions?
Perfect.
Perfect?
Yes. Perfect. Now we got the south wind blowing up against the current to slow the current down some. Otherwise, as you see this morning, we were getting blown back. It's perfect now.
Now, how many fish are we going to get?
We should limit out. No doubt.
Some of those walleye on the graph finally ended up in the cooler.
Yes, and it's on my kicker line.
He's on the top one.
All right. And it's a walleye.
There's the walleye here, buddy.
Oh, and it's not too bad.
Get him in here, quick, you know.
Yeah, I want to take him by the motor. I always want to do that for
Okay.
sure. Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Now get him up here. He's on the last hook.
I know he's on the last hook. Whoa!
Whoa!
Boy, that
Does it feel good?
Yes, that felt good.
It's been a while for you, but...
Yes, it has. Oh, man.
Oh, you got them in that great looking,
Yes, indeed.
that new one, you got a new color. I like that. I really do.
Old Yeller.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I'm real pleased with this.
That made you feel better, hey, Fred?
Bet it did. Jim and I got a little competitive as the hours wore on, but we were having a ball.
Straight up.
Oh, yeah. There he is. Not a real big one, though.
It's a nice one.
But it's a nice one. Yeah. The final score, 11 walleye. We even kept a few white bass to fry up. The old river rat, Jim Shruga, took the majority of the walleye, but the new river rat didn't do too bad, though. This was my first time hand lining with wire line. I loved it. It's the most basic, most traditional way to fish hook and line, and a technique that works for other species too, but hand lining for walleye is a Detroit River tradition. Well, that's a typical spring fishing trip when the conditions look ideal like they did in the morning. We didn't catch any walleye. We had to wait till nighttime when they were ready to hit. Same thing happens turkey hunting at this time of year. Conditions can be great in the morning, but we had a hunt a few years ago where we had to wait till the afternoon until the gobblers got hot.
It's the second day of turkey season. At break of day, the sun is just starting to come up. It's a little bit cloudy. It's warm out. It's probably feels like it's about 65, 70 degrees already. But we're in a location here for turkey hunting in a sort of agricultural area. We have fields all around us. The reason I'm looking here is we just heard some gobblers evidently over in this field. We also have gobblers up in this woods. And if things go according to plan, they're going to be filtering right through here. And I'm going to get over here by this tree. Now I'm wearing, the clothing I'm wearing is a little overdoing it because it's insulated Gore-Tex, but I'm going to be sitting down using a mouth call. This is the diaphragm call that I'm going to just put in my mouth so I don't have to move my hands. I'll have my gun on my knees, ready to go. And this could be a lot of excitement, especially if these turkeys take a long time to move in. But I'm going to get up by this tree over here. We have this set up so the camera can see me, so you folks can watch.
Cameraman John Ford and I had big expectations for this setup. Nothing short of ideal, because the previous evening, John and I sat in this location and taped 4 gobblers that moved through close. This is what we saw just 12 hours earlier, which was the evening of the first day of the season. Shooting hours closed at 4 p.m. This was taken about 7. But we've heard that these gobblers weren't answering to calls, and that was our experience on opening day. Well, I'm not a prize-winning turkey caller by any stretch, but I can call in toms when they're not preoccupied with hens. These gobblers are totally intent on those 2 hens that saunter through, though. Watch how they all display as the hens walk by. Now, there's no point in trying to call them away from hens that are meandering right under their noses. My amateur calling doesn't bother the turkeys, but it doesn't interest them either. They have those hens surrounded. Each gobbler is vying for attention. Unfortunately for them, the hens aren't in the mood for romance, but that was neither here nor there to me. The point is, turkeys are in the area. They use these fields frequently for traveling, and they crisscross all over. Chances are, if I sit there long enough in the morning, they're almost sure to pass through within range. The hens are drab-looking during their nesting. It's only the gobblers, the bright-colored ones, that are legal to hunt. That's what I was waiting for this morning. And soon after sunup, a hen appeared. So far, everything according to plan. A group of toms should be following this hen, wandering our direction. And this will be a storybook hunt. But the toms never showed up. I don't know if it was my outline by the base of the tree that maybe spooked her. I don't think so, because I didn't move and she didn't appear to be spooked. But something was definitely raining on our parade. Perfect setup, perfect location, lots of turkeys in the area, and an early morning rain shower. It didn't last, though. The sun was shining moments later, and John spotted two toms in a far field. Now, we saw these two toms the night before in that field. They were alone then, like they are now, and the landowner said he'd never seen those two big boys with hens. Made us wonder. What monsters. John and I decided that it was time to move on these birds because they weren't coming our way, they weren't responding to calls, and we had to intercept them someplace. We changed locations many times, like we did the day before, until we finally saw some activity along a stand of pines by a power line. And when they won't come to a call, you have little choice but to sit where they pass through. And bingo, coming our way, a hen.
That bird is within range, but it's the wrong sex. It's working its way right up here. I don't know if it's spotted us or not, or if it's looking at something else. Boy, this is working just according to plan. Come on, just one gobbler behind it.
After 5 minutes, it appeared 40 yards away.
Yep, we got a gobbler. We got a gobbler, John. Can you see it displaying? It's right there, and it's displaying. Oh, man. Gotta step out a little more this way.
"40 yards was stretching the range on my 12 gauge, and I had to chase that bird to get it. Oh. I don't know why you didn't come with me. I had to chase this one down.
Congratulations.
Oh, boy. That thing took off into the swamp, and oh, man. I tell you, you got to work for these critters. Oh, but okay, here's the beard. Everybody wants to know about the beard. Not very long, couple inches. Oh, man. And how much does it weigh? I don't know, about 40, 50 pounds, I think. Oh, well, that concludes turkey season. Man, 2 days. Rough 2 days. Well, let's go. Sometimes turkey hunting is easy, sometimes it's not. For me, 1990 was a challenge, a supreme challenge with a supreme reward. I think. Oh, well, that concludes turkey season. Man, 2 days. Rough 2 days. Well, let's go. Sometimes turkey hunting is easy, sometimes it's not. For me, 1990 was a challenge, a supreme challenge with a supreme reward.